we're a community blood bank and we service the largest medical center in the world, which is right here in our backyard in Houston. And on top of that, as you mentioned, we service 170 hospitals and healthcare institutions across 26 counties. That's the service region that we cover here at Gulf Coast Regional Blood Center.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Spotlight Houston, where we bring you the best of the people, places, and events in Houston. January is National Blood Donor Month, a time where we collectively raise awareness about the need for blood donations and to encourage all of us to making these life-saving contributions. This week we sat down with Teresa Pina, Vice President of Operations for the Gulf Coast Regional Blood Center, to discuss the myths and misconceptions of blood donations and how easy the process is. And now your host, Blanca Quesada.
Hi, everyone. As usual, I know that we've all made those New Year resolutions like eat healthier, exercise, lose weight. But how about if we add a new one for this year? And that's to make a difference in someone's life, basically saving a life, actually. And I know you're probably thinking, what is she talking about? And how do I do that? Anyway, I'm going to give you a personal story and tell you why I think this program for me is very important and very personal. I had a sister who had leukemia. Fortunately, thank goodness that there were so many people out there donating blood because she needed blood transfusions every day as well as platelet. And fortunately, that blood helped her a lot. Uh, she also got the chemo and medications, but she was in remission for 4 years before it came back. And so again, she needed the blood transfusions and platelets and everything else, but she made it another year. So for me, I'm very grateful for all those people that donated their blood. Didn't see their faces, don't know their names, but to me, they're very special people. And myself and my family and my sister, of course, very thankful that they decided to donate. So now I can tell you who my guest is, and she'll explain to you how easy it's going to be to save many lives, from newborns to elderly people. And all it takes is just a little bit of time. So with me today is Teresa Pina, and she is the Vice President of Operations with the Gulf Coast Blood Center, and she'll explain everything we need to know about donating blood. I'm really excited to have you on the show because I want to make sure that our listeners understand how important it is that we donate. And it doesn't take much, and it's not painful.
Right. Thank you so much for having me, Blanca. I'm always happy to talk about the needs in our community. Love to hear your personal story about how blood donations impacted your family. We know in our community, people need blood donations or blood transfusions every single day. That's why here at Gulf Coast Regional Blood Center, we're really looking to ensure that we get about 1,000 donations every single day because that's what it really need. That's what we need in our community to ensure that patients have what they need.
Right, because you work with so many hospitals.
Do.
The medical center is huge. Plus, there's other hospitals outside of you know, Houston as well.
So we're a community blood bank and we service the largest medical center in the world, which is right here in our backyard in Houston. And on top of that, as you mentioned, we service 170 hospitals and healthcare institutions across 26 counties. That's the service region that we cover here at Gulf Coast Regional Blood Center.
Well, Teresa, many people have different misconceptions about donating blood and fears about it. So can you explain a little bit about, why they have these misconceptions and why they're wrong?
Absolutely. So it is easy to donate blood. A lot of people are afraid of needles or they're unsure of what the process looks like. And I can assure you, we have trained phlebotomists that this is what they do all day, every day. So they're going to make the process as painless as possible. And it takes about an hour of your time. And we say 1 hour changes everything. And that's not only for you, but it also changes everything for someone like your sister or someone like yourself to have somebody's life extended.
Mhm.
Now, when we talk about misconceptions, there are a lot of myths in our community about the blood donation needs or what it takes to donate blood. And so, certainly, love to talk through those. When you go to our website at giveblood.org, you can find a donation location near you. We do over 7,000 mobile blood drives throughout the community in a year. And we have neighborhood donor centers or collection centers all throughout the community. So you can find something that fits in your schedule or a location that really works for your convenience.
Mhm. And January, of course, is blood donation month.
Mhm.
Um, but we really need to donate blood the entire year.
You got it. So back in 1970, President Richard Nixon declared January as National Blood Donor Month. And it was really for us to recognize the volunteer blood donors in our nation that go out and donate blood, and really to also encourage those that maybe haven't tried it before that would come out and donate. And so we still celebrate National Blood Donor Month across the nation, and community blood centers all over to recognize our blood donors, and then also just like Richard Nixon planned for us to do is to encourage more people to join. Blood can't be manufactured. It has to come from one person to be given to another. So we need people to roll up their sleeve and donate blood on a regular basis, not just during the month of January. And so, yeah, we talk about it a lot in January, but certainly it's an ongoing need.
Yeah, definitely a need every single day. 365 days of the year, right?
Absolutely.
Um,
When you think about, about a quarter of the nation's blood supply goes to treating cancer patients. When you think about mothers delivering babies, oftentimes mothers hemorrhage during labor and delivery, and about 1 in 83 births require a blood transfusion. And certainly in our community and in other communities, there's quite a bit of a need for transfusions related to violent crimes or motor vehicle accidents. So not only to care for those that are being treated for illnesses, but also those unexpected things that just happen in our community or happen to people.
right. Accidents, for example.
Absolutely. Accidents. We've seen an increased need in blood transfusions for motor vehicle accidents in the Houston and surrounding communities. You've probably noticed there are way more people on the roads now than there have ever been before. And our hospitals are starting to see a lot more of the trauma patients coming in due to motor vehicle accidents.
Yeah, and like as I said, as a patient, you're very grateful to the donors. As a family, you're very grateful to the donors. So, you become like a hero to them, even though you're faceless. You know.
Right, right. They're the
Um,
unsung heroes in our community, and oftentimes people don't realize they're walking amongst heroes. But we have some very loyal donors that donate very regularly, and we have those. They donate one time a year whenever they can. But certainly, if we can get you to donate one time per quarter and make it more of a habit for yourself, like you said, start off as a New Year's resolution of I'm going to add something to my list this year, but getting into that habit of just doing it quarterly makes it something that just becomes familiar for you and convenient, when you just have that habit that you build.
yeah. Another thing I've heard people say is that they don't have the blood type that you need, so they're not going to donate.
So all blood types are always needed. We always say the blood type that's needed most is the one that's not on the shelf. And you never want that to be the case. So patients need blood based on blood compatibility. And we all have different blood types. And so we want to make sure that all blood types are available whenever patients need them. So, oftentimes you'll hear us make a call to whether it's type O blood donors or type A blood donors. But honestly, on a regular basis, we need all donations, so all blood types. And, when you come in to donate blood, we're going to ask you to donate the best donation that's needed that day. So sometimes you're going to come in and we just need a whole blood donation from you. Other times you may come in and we may say, based on your blood type and based on what hospitals need right now, we're going to ask you to do a platelet donation. And so a platelet donation is used a lot of times for cancer patients and used in our community for people that are battling cancer and taking chemotherapy treatments. And so those individuals need platelets. Sometimes we're going to ask you to do plasma donation. Those are used for burn victims, patients that are being treated for like surgeries and organ transplants and things like that. And then sometimes we're going to ask you to do a double red cell. And those are used a lot of times in trauma patients. They're used a lot of times during, like we mentioned earlier, motor vehicle accidents, violent crimes, surgeries, and things like that. So, when you come in to donate, whatever your blood type is, we're going to maximize your donation based on what patients need in our community right now.
That's interesting that you were mentioning the different types of donations. And most people don't understand that that's what you asked for because, well, a lot of us don't know what platelets are or just the red cell, or whole
Right.
blood. And I think we're more familiar with just the whole blood and not everything else that you mentioned.
Yeah, so we ask you to just come in and donate blood. And what we're going to do is we'll explain all of that to you based on what our needs are and what your blood type is that day and what you qualify for. We want to make sure that whatever you're donating is what's best for you and for patients. Some patients may not weigh enough to do a double red cell, or some patients, or some donors, their blood types don't aren't necessarily compatible for what we're looking for, let's say for a platelet donation. So no matter what your blood type is, when you come in to donate blood, we're going to find the best match for you.
What are red blood, the double red blood cells? Never heard of
So
that before.
yeah, so let me talk about it a little bit more because certainly something that the average person just doesn't know. So when you come in to donate blood, typically what you're thinking about is whole blood. That
Mhm.
process, needle and arm, is maybe 5 to 7 minutes. It's very short, it's very fast, and it's your traditional type of donation. Now we take that whole blood donation and we break it down into multiple components. So we separate it in a centrifuge and we make it different components. So we'll make a plasma out of it, we'll make platelets, and then we'll make a red cell. So those all go to different types of patients based on what their needs are. That's why we say one blood donation can save up to 3 lives, because that one donation is going to be broken up and spread amongst 3 patients. Now, sometimes when you come in, when we mention like a platelet donation, what we're going to do is we have automated devices that take your blood and run it through the centrifuge while you're sitting there, and it will give you back your red cells and your plasma, and we just keep the
Oh,
platelets.
that's great.
And it's an enclosed system, so the blood never touches anything. It's never contaminated. That kit gets thrown away after every donation, so everything is sterile. Now, that donation type allows you to donate more frequently because we're giving you back products that we aren't necessarily looking to collect that day from your blood type. And so platelets go, like I mentioned earlier, to a very specific type of patient and patient need. Now, when we're talking about a double red cell, we do that exact same thing, but we're just collecting the red cells when it runs through the centrifuge. But when we do a double red cell, we're taking double the amount of red cells than what we would normally get with a whole blood donation. And what's great about that is the volume is larger, but then you're not able to donate as frequently because it'll take a little bit longer for you to rebuild your iron stores, which is really important. We want to make sure that you stay healthy as well as a blood donor. So we make you wait a little bit longer. Instead of waiting 8 weeks, we make you wait 16 weeks. And that's just for you. But sometimes when you come in, we're going to get a plasma. Sometimes we mix it up and we'll take different components based on your blood type and, like I mentioned, what we need that day. But that's all done through an automated device that takes how much you weigh and what your blood volume is and really determines what's the best volume that we take from you that keeps you safe and also provides a great dose for patients in the hospital.
So really, it's up to the donor to decide what they want to donate at the time?
So we tell you what you're eligible to donate and what we prefer you to donate, and then based on how much time you have and what your preference is, you as a donor always decide what you're going to end up donating. Those automated procedures take a little bit longer. So something like a double red cell or platelet donation, as I mentioned, a whole blood donation is about 5 to 7 minutes with a needle in the arm. That could be upwards of 45 minutes to an hour with a needle in the arm for those automated procedures because it does take a little more time to run the blood through the centrifuge and sort it and get it ready um, to collect that volume. But a lot
Mhm.
of our frequent donors, they like the longer procedure types. They watch a TV show or they read their books, play on social media. It gives them that quiet time away from everyone else. So it's kind of like a break from everybody because you're doing something good, but you also get a little bit of alone time. So, we do have a lot of donors that it's like their quiet time. Some donors like to come in and they visit with our staff and have a good time while they're donating. We make the time go by really fast. So it just depends on what your preference is. If you want some quiet time, we've got a good seat for you. And if you want to visit, we have that too. So
Mhm. Teresa, why is it that some people think that they're going to get sick if they donate?
I think it's just a lack of information. When we're in school and growing up, it's not information that's readily available.
Mhm.
Oftentimes, if your parents didn't donate blood, you probably have no exposure to donating blood. We've started to do a lot of blood drives at our high schools because we really want to take the opportunity to give young people a chance to donate blood while they're young so we can end some of those misconceptions and lack of information that has existed in our community. And you're more likely to try something for the first time when you're young and in high school, and maybe your friends are doing it, or you're just more willing to get out there and try something. But I think some people feel like they're going to get sick or something's going to happen to them because it's just lack of information. At Gulf Coast Regional Blood Center, we not only want to make sure that we're providing blood to the community and patients in need, but at the same time, we want to keep our donors healthy. There's no need in doing good for one if you're going to cause harm to another. And so we take really good care of our donors. Sometimes our donors may get deferred because, and deferred means like you can't donate today for whatever reason. Maybe your hematocrit, your iron isn't high enough to donate blood, we'll tell you, hey, wait and come back in later on. Or if you're on an antibiotic, we'll tell you, wait until you're feeling better before you come back in. So, depending on different things, we may tell you as the donor, now's not a good time to donate because ultimately we want to keep you safe and we want to keep you healthy.
So your blood gets checked while you're waiting to get or waiting to do the donation.
So your blood gets checked for your hematocrit while you're sitting there because we want to make sure that you're at a healthy state. If you don't pass our health screening, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're unhealthy. It just means that you don't have enough to give to others. And so there's some misconception there that if we turn you away for a low hematocrit, that you're anemic, and that's not necessarily the case. It just means that you didn't have enough today to share and so we want you to eat a more hearty meal and eat more iron enriched foods before you come in to donate blood.
Mhm.
Now, once you donate blood, what we're going to do is we send your tubes, your sample tubes up to our lab and we run a whole series of tests. And these are more, we want to check what your blood type is. If you've never donated before, we're going to make sure we find out what your blood type is. And then we're also going to do disease state testing. So we're going to make sure that your blood is um, good and healthy and it's not positive for anything that could be transfused into a patient. So we run a whole series of tests on those, and you'll be notified if for some reason something's positive or there's anything that you need to go to your family practice doctor to kind of check out a little bit more. So those are all the different tests that we run while you're in that process. But oftentimes, the tests that we're running on your blood samples, those are going to happen overnight. And so the next day is when we find out whether something was positive or not. Now, I'll say it's very rare that we get positives back on, whether it's, something like HIV or hepatitis or something like that. But when we do, one of our medical directors will contact that donor and let them know that they need to follow up with their physician. But we do a whole series of questions. When you come in to donate blood, not only are we going to check to make sure that you're well and healthy to donate that day, but we're also going to run through a whole series of very personal questions to make sure that we're ruling out any what we would consider risky behavior that might imply or have some sort of risk that you might test positive for one of these different diseases that we're checking for. But we're going to ask you all these different questions, making sure that you're eligible. And these are really questions that the FDA has us ask to rule out anybody that the FDA doesn't consider as an eligible donor. Even though we are also going to test the blood, we still verify your blood test, even though you answered all of those questions.
So, how do we prepare to be able to donate?
So the best way to prepare for a blood donation is to make sure that you've had a good night's rest and that you're well hydrated when you come in to donate blood, because that's going to make you feel better. Now, we often say that we want you to eat before you come in to donate, but we found that some donors say, I'd rather not eat before I donate, but we just ask that you at least eat a hearty meal after you donate. So that really is a personal preference on whether you want to eat before or after. A lot of our younger people, we ask them to eat beforehand, because they think that, a bag of M&Ms is, breakfast, and so we
Hmm.
ask them to eat before they come in to donate, but that like I said, that's a personal preference. And then when you come in, you would need to bring a valid ID because we have to be able to identify that you're who you say you are. We enter all of that into our system. And that's really all you really need to do. For convenience, we ask that you make an appointment so that we expect that you're arriving and we can get you in quicker. But it's a really easy process. We have a lot of donors that just drop in and we call those walk-ins, and we always welcome walk-ins, but we can expedite your donation process when you've made an appointment.
Hmm. And you basically can replenish your blood almost right away, right?
Right away, yes. So, we have like a little ongoing joke about you donate blood, you lose a
Uh,
and
Wouldn't that be nice?
you do, but your body replenishes it the next day. You'll have it right back. So,
Oh, that's not right.
yeah, I know, I know. But yeah, so, yes, your body replenishes the blood and it's good for you. There are some health benefits to donating blood on a regular basis that have been done about, um, regular blood donations can reduce cardiac, risk. And so there's a lot of good reasons to donate blood for your own health, but also to help other people.
Hmm. Why is it that sometimes we hear people having to drink orange juice or something like that after they've donated?
You don't have to drink orange juice or a juice after you donate. We have different drinks that are available for donors. Ultimately, when you donate blood, you're losing fluids. And we want to replace those fluids so you feel energized again. Oftentimes, donors will opt for water, but we also have other drinks available. We have like juice boxes or orange juices, so it's not necessarily that we want you to drink orange juice specifically. We just have it available because some people don't like drinking water. They want something a little sweeter. We have a lot of donors that take the opportunity to, eat or drink something sweet as a treat or reward for donating blood. And so a lot of our neighborhood donor centers have fresh cookies, but all of our donation locations have snacks. And then we have so many different kinds of snacks for you to eat after your donation. It just helps you feel better after you donate, but certainly not required.
Yeah, I've been to some blood donation locations and they've got ice cream. Oh.
Yeah, we always have snacks. We don't always have ice cream, but we always have snacks.
Mhm. So when do you have the blood drives and which locations? Is it every day or just on weekends or something like that?
So we have, I mentioned over 7,000 blood drives throughout our community in a year's time. So there's always a blood drive in your community, whether that's at your place of worship or your place of business. Sometimes you'll see us at your local grocery store, that type of thing. So there are blood drives all over. And then we also have our neighborhood donor centers that are throughout our community. They're usually located right out in the suburbs, right outside of major neighborhood areas, whether that's like Katy or Sugarland or Pearland, those types of places. But you can go on our website at giveblood.org and find the location that's closest to you. Um, we have something every day. Actually, we have several options every day. We are a 365-day operation because that's what's needed in our community. So it's very rare that we don't have something open for you to donate blood.
Hmm. And you may make a new friend when you go to one of these locations too.
You may make a new friend, especially if you're donating on a regular basis and you're going back to the same place. You'll see a lot of the same faces, whether that's at a neighborhood donor center or maybe your church does a blood drive on a quarterly basis. You'll oftentimes see the same team there of phlebotomists, or you'll see the same parishioners there when you're donating blood. So it is a great time to fellowship with other people, whether that be at your workplace or at one of our neighborhood donor sites.
If you have someone in the hospital that you know and you want to donate blood directly to them, is that possible to make that request?
So it's you're not necessarily going to be a compatible match. Just because you know someone doesn't mean that you're going to match. So what we tell people is um we have a program that ensures that there's blood on the shelf for anyone who needs it. And so when you have a loved one that goes to the hospital, there will be blood there in the Houston area. That's our mission, is to ensure that there's blood there. So you as a family member or a friend, you don't need to worry about running out and donating for a specific person because blood's going to be available. We're going to ensure the right blood type and the right product types are available based on what that patient needs and what their physician says they need. Um, there are programs where if, someone needs something very specific, we have a directed donation program, but that is a very difficult program to maneuver because there are a lot of logistics into making sure that your blood donation one is compatible to that patient. It's what that patient needs, and we get it to the right location when they need it.
Mhm.
Oftentimes, when people need blood, the blood that's on the shelf is really what saves their lives because time is of essence. We mentioned when you donate blood, that blood is not even ready to even ship out to a hospital until at least 24 hours later because we have to wait on testing. So, oftentimes, your loved one that's in the hospital is going to use blood that's already on the shelf because they need it right now, and we don't have time to wait and get you scheduled for a donation, get your donation in, get it tested, get it labeled, and get it to wherever your family member is. So, if you donate blood on a regular basis, it helps replenish the blood supply that your family member needed, and it's more of a pay it forward if they don't need it.
Mhm. Well, we live in a very culturally diverse city.
Yes.
So I'm sure that people are thinking, well, if I'm from a certain country or ethnicity or whatever, they might not want to donate. But blood is blood, right?
Blood is blood. Now, there are patients that require rare blood types, and that gets really interesting. And that's really one of the only times that the diversity really comes into play. Blood is blood. When blood has a label on it, that label does not say what the ethnicity is. It says what the blood type is, and so we all share that in common. When a patient has a rare blood type, so something extremely rare, oftentimes what we're looking for are people of the same diversity, donors of the same diversity, because you're more likely to find that same rare blood type in people that are that same ethnic background. And
Hmm.
so when we're talking about like sickle cell patients, that's when we really talk a lot about needing to grow our African American blood donors because to ensure that we have those units that are needed for sickle cell patients, we have to typically we find a better match for those sickle cell patients from the African American community. But beyond that, a rare donation or a sickle cell patient, the diversity of the blood supply, it doesn't matter. Um, you won't as a recipient of a blood transfusion, you don't know what the ethnicity is You just know that your life has been extended.
Hmm. So we can go to your website to find
You
out
got,
more information.
you got it. So you can go to our website at giveblood.org. On our website, you can find a lot of the information that we talked about today if you want to just learn a little bit more about the different donation types. Or if you want to find a location near you, you can find all of that on our website. You can make an appointment for yourself on our website. You can find contact information if you want to call us to ask questions that are very specific about your donor eligibility. We have a team that can answer all of your questions. So, everything you need to know and more is on our website. We also have information about if you want to host a blood drive. Let's say that you work in a place of business that doesn't have a blood drive program and you want to start one there. You can contact us and we can teach you how to host blood drives and encourage people at your place of business or your place of worship or your school, wherever you are. So all of that information is on our website. We encourage you to go and find out more information. There are different ways that you can contribute. Maybe blood donation is not your thing. Maybe you can host a blood drive, like I mentioned. Or if you want to volunteer your time, we have a wonderful volunteer program where you can volunteer your time out in the community or here at our headquarters location. So lots of options for you to give back.
Well, Teresa, thank you so much for being here with me today. I loved all the information that you gave us, really important information. And again, we can just visit your website and get more details, especially the phone number if you have more questions. And as well, I'd like to thank you for being with me for this edition of Spotlight Houston. And if you have any comments, please send them my way. Or if you have any story ideas, just please get in touch.
Thank you so much for having me, Blanca. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Spotlight Houston, a production of Story Zone Media.